Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here today. So my presentation is about funding for research, importance, type of funding, and how to apply. Um, and I would like to start my presentation, or better, my conversation, because I would like you to be active part of it by asking you some questions. And talking about participation in grant for research, what I would like to ask you is, why should you apply? So, of course, the most straightforward answer is for the money. So to win funding for your research, I suppose. So how many of you think the money is the most important reason why you should apply for a grant? Okay. Anyone else? That's okay. Anyone else? So, and the other people that didn't raise their hand, what do they think? Okay. More visibility, yeah? Something else? Make partnership, yeah? Well, money, of course, is important to develop your career, exactly. So all these reasons are absolutely fine. And personally, I think if it was only for the money, it wouldn't be worth the effort. So applying for funding for your research is, first of all, to enabling young researchers like you to boost their research quality, productivity, and especially their career. As Maria Jose said, to improve your career means to become independent researcher, to start building up your own lab, and to start carrying out your own research. Why is this so important? Because if you want to stay within academia, if you want to have a career within academia, this is the only thing that really counts. Because otherwise, the risk is that you end up running around in circles like this little mouse without going anywhere. So the most important thing is you become independent researcher. Of course, the second reason is to address societal challenges and to make contribution to science, which I suppose is the reason why researchers do their job. The third reason is to get out from your lab, to push your boundaries and to get in contact with cutting edge technologies, to equipment, and to increase your collaboration, which bring us to point 4, which is to expand also your understanding of the world. So not only in your lab, in your research, but generally speaking. And if you are a more senior researcher, so we talk about the importance for your career, if you are a young researcher to become independent, if you are a little bit more senior, it's important to retain your staff, to invest in your people, to develop the resources that you have, and also to increase your reputation, to be in the spotlight, as someone said, and to, well, of course, once you start to have a project and you become a little bit more visible at international level, then it's very likely that you are called to participate in other proposals. So it's like a chain. What else? Something that you already said, someone else said, maybe some other reason, but basically the money, of course, is important, but it's more important to do something for yourself, for your ambition. And this is another question that I would like to ask you. What do you need to apply? And by that, I mean, what kind of condition? What do you think are condition to start writing your proposal? What do you need? What do you think? Or if you tried to write a proposal, what did you feel that you really needed? What started to write a proposal? Ideas, well, okay, idea. Time is a very good point, exactly. So here I made up a list of things, and for me, the most important thing is strong motivation and ambition, because writing a proposal is tough, it's time consuming, and it's very hard. So you need motivation and ambition, what we talked about just 5 minutes ago, why you apply, your motivation, your ambition, they should support you throughout the process. And here is a graph that show you that ambition sometimes decrease in time, and you start by thinking, I want to win the Nobel Prize, and then you end up asking yourself if they have pepperoni pizza. So it's very important to keep yourself motivated, right? So second thing, I think, then I want to have your feedback, of course, but I think it's very important to have experts that support you throughout your process, throughout the process. So you need experts that help you to find the right call, to read all the documentation, to understand the call, to help you looking for partners, all this stuff that experts from a project office should help you to do. So the most important thing is to sit down with these people. They can also help you to develop ideas. And here you have a project office available with very qualified people. So don't hesitate to go, first of all, and see them and talk to them. Staying informed, of course, is another important point, and not only to know what is available, what calls are available out there, but also to, because this is something that the project office can help you, but also to get ideas. As Yelena said, sometimes you don't have ideas, so to stay informed about what other colleagues are doing. Which brings us to the fourth point, networking and collaboration, which is key to prepare a proposal and to have good partners or to find a good consortium. For me, is the only way through which you can find people to work with. So it can be your networking when you go to conferences, can be networking from your supervisor, for people that you trust, but it's very important to know people. Number 5, of course, deep dedication and thorough preparation. So you need to study, you need to get involved. And well, number 7, strategic time, which is connected to this point. You need to dedicate time to your proposal. So try to prepare a proposal when you don't have other commitment, other things that might distract you from being concentrated on what you are doing. Embracing different funding sources is another possibility. Horizon Europe, I know that is seen as the only source of funding, but there are a lot of other possibilities. Especially to begin with, you can start with something smaller, with something less ambitious, just to start, because it's a working process, and we will see later what funding opportunities are available. Being resilient in face of rejection. This is another very important point. Don't expect to get funded the first time that you present a proposal. It's very unlikely. It might happen, of course, I'm not saying no, but if you are rejected, it's very important that you read the evaluation summary to understand why you've been rejected, to understand and to perform better the next time. As I said, it's a work in process. So the more you do it, the better you become. What else? You already said some points. So anything to add to this? No. Right. So this is another like comic about the importance of collaboration and networking. So do not underestimate what a bunch of researchers can do when they join together.
you have some benefit also of your effort trying to get some support, not just if you get funding, then prepare a new proposal above some threshold, then that fund must be recognized for your further.
For your effort. You mean like in incentives from your university or your, right? Yeah, of course. This is another good point. Right. So relevant funding opportunities. So here I just would like to give you an overview about the funding opportunities available for young researchers and less young researchers. So we can categorize these funding opportunities in different categories. So first of all, fellowships and individual research grants. So typically these are grants that are given to an individual, not to the institution, and is like individual tailored. So it's like allowing you to develop your own research. Therefore, the approach is bottom-up, which means that you don't have any indications as for the challenge that you have to deal with, the objectives or the results you have to achieve. It's completely free. So you define the challenge, you define your objective, it's your research. Normally, you don't need partners, so it's individual, so you do it yourself. But this doesn't mean that you don't need help, for example, from people that is in your institution. So technicians or other researchers, you might have the need to have this contribution, but you don't need partners. The salary is included because it's for you to develop your investigation, your research. Duration depends, can be 2 or 3 years or 3 or 4, depending on the maturity in which level you are in your career. Experience is also to be checked. Sometimes it's 1 year after your PhD, sometimes it's a little more. So we see what the possibilities are. So we have fellowships. In fellowships, of course, the focus is on training. So it means that you are either a pre-doc or a young researcher, and you still need to develop some skills. You need to investigate some part of your research, so you need some training. Normally is for young postdoc up to 4 years after the PhD. And here we have grants given by the National Research Council, ministries, and I'm sure here in Serbia you have too. And then we have the possibility at European or international level. Normally these possibilities, these opportunities require you to move to another country. So for the first type of grant, you stay in your country, but at the international level, you have to move. The most famous one are the Marie Sklodowska-Curie actions, but there are a lot of different possibilities. And here in this, for example, the Newton, the von Humboldt. In the Newton, for example, you have to move to UK. Von Humboldt, you have to move to Germany. So normally you have to move, if we're talking about foundation or charities, normally you have to move to the country where the fellowship is offered. So here you can find this different possibility, and there is a search engine where you can look for opportunities depending on your maturity, on the country you want to go, and the field of research. Then we have individual grants for more senior researchers, like people that don't really need any training anymore. So it is given for granted that you are complete and you can carry out your research and give contribution to science. So these are for more years, more money, of course. And the mobility depends on the funder. For example, for the ERC schemes, starting, consolidator, and advance, you don't have to move from your country. You don't have to move from your institution. For other grants, for example, the European Molecular Biology Organization, you have to move to Germany. So here as well, you can find opportunity regarding this kind of grants in the website that is highlighted here in red. And then we have another kind of funding possibility, which are seed funding. And this is a contribution, a small contribution given to develop an idea that is like a crazy idea. So you need time to see if this idea is feasible, if it can be transformed in a real research, in a real project. So it's for 6 months, 1 year. And after this time, if you prove that it's something that might receive more funding, you get more funding to prepare a real project. Normally, these seeds funding are given by national agency. At the European level, for example, Horizon Europe don't give anything like this, but there are other institutions, other charities that might give you some of this fund. Right, so then we have the collaborative research project, which basically constitute 80% of the grants, at least for Horizon Europe. And here the approach is top-down, which means that you have indications about which challenge you have to deal with, what objectives you have to cover, and what results you should achieve. So basically here what is defined is the what. The how is up to you. So for example, if you have a challenge like, I don't know, microplastic in water, right? So in this case, the European Commission says, okay, I want to reduce the amount of microplastic in water. But how you do that is up to you. So you might develop a new technology to remove microplastic. You might design a new packaging with less plastic, whatever, is up to you. Normally for this kind of project, you need partners. So you need minimum 2 partners. This I'm talking about Horizon Europe, but basically it's a little bit like this for all the calls, international calls, up to 8 or 10 partners. The salary, the PI salary, so the person that carry out the project in each institution, is not automatically included, but you can include it in the personnel cost. Duration depends, can be between 3 and 5 years. Experience, there's not requirement about the experience. So, and here we have again national grants, and then we have the European grants. Horizon Europe, the global challenges, but there are other programs. So, for example, LIFE, Interreg. I know that Serbia participate in the Interreg Danube. So there are other possibilities. And then we have international grants. International grants are a little bit difficult to win. I'm talking about especially United States, right? So Bill Gates Foundation, NIH, they are a little bit difficult to win because normally institution wants the property rights to stay within the region. So the United States prefer to give grants to people that stay there and don't go away with the knowledge. But if you have a specific piece of information that is valuable for them, it might be possible. Then we have a lot of different grants possibilities for small amount of money. And it could be for travel, for example, going to a conference, exchange programs. It's small money, can be for a couple of weeks. And it's interesting to start with this little grant if you want later to apply for something bigger. So just to get used. And of course, you also travel, you meet people, you can do networking. So it's a good possibility. Do you have any questions? Okay. Right, so which grant is the best for you? Of course, depends on you. So it depends what kind of research you have, what kind of idea you have. Do you need partners? Do you still need training? What stage are you in your career? Do you want to build up a new laboratory? Do you want to travel? who can give you a grant. This is another thing that researchers normally don't consider. So they go directly to public bodies, either ministries or European Commission, whatever, but they don't think that might also be some commercial sponsors. If you have results that can be commercialized, they might be interested. And charities. Charity is another possibility, charities or foundation. Normally, you should fit the aim of this, the mission of this charity. So, for example, the Alzheimer's Society, you have to do something for Alzheimer, of course. But there are also possibilities in this field. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the application procedure. If there is no questions about funding opportunities. Right, application procedure. So here you can see the whole process about preparing and submitting a proposal. So first of all, you define your idea, you define what you want to do, basically, and then you start to look for a possible call. And this is very important. A call that absolutely match your research idea, should 110% match your idea. But what is important is that you go in this progression, not the other way around. And I'm saying so because normally researchers, what they do when they want to prepare a proposal, they go and they start to browse internet to see what calls are available. And then they select a call, the one that seems to be more interesting. And then they start to write the proposal, trying to fit as much as possible the call requirements. And this is not a good strategy if you want to be successful. The starting point of your proposal journey is your idea. And you have to find a call that perfectly matches your idea. And if you don't find a call that matches perfectly, then it's better if you look for another call or you wait for the right call to be published. Why? Because otherwise you lose originality. You end up doing something that you don't want to do. You're not so interested to do. And you can do it once, twice, but you cannot do that all your life, right? So it's very important that, well, sometimes it might be possible. I mean, you might adapt your idea depending on the role that you have, depending on the research. For example, when you are invited to participate in a proposal that is already structured, it depends. But as I said, it can be just because you are inexperienced and you have to gain experience, but you cannot do this all your life, because otherwise the result is that you don't sound convincing, you might be out of scope, so it's not a good idea. So then you have to define your consortium. So if you are the coordinator, you have to define which partners you need, which brings us to another question, that is, what kind of task do you have in your proposal and how should you distribute this task among your partners? Because when you define this question, you know what kind of partner you need. Do you need research developer? Do you need innovators? Do you need small, medium enterprises? It depends the type of partners. Another question is where to find partners. As I said, for me, the best thing is networking. Why? Because you have to know your partners. So when you go in this website and you look for a partner you don't know, it's a little bit risky. You want to know the people that you are going to work with for the next 5 years. You personally or people that you trust. As I said, talking about consortium bring us also to the dilemma whether you should be coordinator or partner. And I know that especially for young researchers, the advice is always join a consortium. Don't be coordinator. As I said, at the beginning, it can be okay, but it's also, I don't think it's easier. I mean, it might be less work for sure, but it's not safer. It is not easier, because to find a good consortium is also very difficult. To find a winning consortium is not easy, right? So for every call that is published, there are a lot of people that join together to prepare a proposal. And you have to find the one that is the most, the one that can be successful. Secondly, as I said, It's not so easy to find a consortium, a proposal that fit your idea. So you might adapt to a certain degree, but not always. So don't be scared about being coordinator. I'm not saying that you have to do it the first time, but if you have an idea, don't be scared to be a coordinator. So the question about deciding about being a coordinator or being a partner is what kind of idea do you have in your head? Is an idea that is you originated completely by yourself? Do you know how to implement this idea? Then you should be coordinator and look for different partners. Be coordinator is a little bit like being a music director. So you must have the symphony in your head, you know, from the beginning to the end, but you don't need to play all the instruments. You need partners for that. And it's a lot of work, of course, but if you have support from, for example, the project office, and the partners also give you support. And if your idea is smaller, is like, you know, a technology that can be sold to different consortium, then you can go and find a consortium. But as I said, this is something you can do at the beginning. Then you have to develop your own idea and to find, to build up your own consortium and have your proposal. So the proposal, I'm going to talk about the proposal tomorrow. So I'm not going to talk much about that today. So basically the proposal, you have calls for example, in the Horizon, you have calls, there are 2 steps, and calls, there are 1 step. 2 steps means that you have to write only 10 pages. And then if the pre-proposal is successful, then you write a longer proposal. Or you might have calls for proposal that should be, is 1 stage, which means that you have to write 70 pages altogether, and it's only 1 submission. Right, so once you have sketched your proposal, a very important step is the revision. Not only on your part, but also you need feedback from your partners. And if there is someone that reads your proposal that is not expert in your field, even better, because many times the evaluators are not expert in your field. So it should be written in a clear language. It should be understandable for people that belong to your field, but also for people that are not exactly expert in your field. So revision is very important. Submission, well, you submit it to the commission, and there is a portal. So we will see that tomorrow more in detail. Evaluation is something that I'm going to talk about also tomorrow. And of course, after the evaluation, you are either funded or rejected. Right, so here what I would like to do is to give you some websites where you can find calls. Well, the first one is the participant portal, and here you can find all the calls available for Horizon Europe. You have a search engine. You can type a keyword, and you can find all the calls available on this topic. For example, I don't know, you type water, and you have a list of possibilities. Scholarship Roar is the website that I told you about fellowship and individual grants. And it's really worth having a look, because if you want to stay even for a summer, few months, here you can find good possibilities. Find Funding is interesting because it's like a website where you can find different websites depending on your topic and your research. So it's basically structured in a lot of different field of research, agriculture, I don't know, nuclear physics. So here, and if you go to this link, then you have a list of charities and foundations that offer calls. Up to Europe, is also interesting. And you can find possibilities, opportunities. It is not just Horizon Europe, it's a little bit more European, charities, etc. And the Eurodex Opportunity Finder here is very good. This one is very good if you want to see possibility for short trips, going to conferences, as I said before. So small amount of money just to begin with, to start to prepare your proposal, application, and to go through all the process. And well, basically, I reached the end of my presentation. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer. Or if you want to say something, comment, or whatever. So we still have half an hour, I think. And I wanted to leave this time for you, or maybe less. I don't know. How much time do we have? Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. The thing is that, I mean, there's not much written in my presentation. It's more what I say, but yeah, sure. I don't have any. Okay, right. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. No problem. Any other question? Is there anyone that is thinking about preparing a proposal, or that's, I don't know, I've seen something like a call and say, oh, this call is interesting, I might prepare something. Do you know anyone that is preparing a proposal? You don't count. You don't count. Have you tried in the past to prepare a proposal, or have you heard about that? This the first time that you assist a presentation about writing a proposal? Have you seen something before? Yeah? Well, in ICRA, I'm the only one that deal with European projects. So if someone has an idea, if he wants, of course, it's not compulsory, he comes and talks to me and say, look, I have this idea, and I don't know. That's why, for me, it's important to underline that the idea comes before the call, because he comes, talk to me and say, well, I have this idea. Can you help me to find a suitable call for proposal? And together we look and we see if there is something available. This is more or less the procedure, but yeah.
This laptop is the Snezana, you can ask your question.
Thank you. I was wondering if you can say something more about this Up to Europe site for finding the call for proposal. So I have never heard for this site. So what kind of calls we can find there, and is this specific for some social science, for natural science? So what kind of calls we can find on this site?
Up to Europe is a website where you can find a lot of information about what's going on, basically, and not only call. So they talk a little bit about what's going on at international, European level, about what conferences, what networking. And you also have a session where you can look for available call. I don't know where to look. This is in the air. It's in the air. Now, you can also find there is a search engine where you can look for different calls. It's structured like, you know, inquiries. So you type, like for the participant portal, you type a keyword, for example, field of research, or for example, you type scholarship or fellowship or individual grant, and you have a list of results. So it works at all the other. The best for me, the best among all these websites, if you want fellowship or individual grants, is a scholarship ROR. If you want something like small grants for minor things, is Eurodesk. And participant portal covers all Horizon Europe, and also, like, for example, LIFE, other grants at European level.
And this will, to difference to the Horizon Europe portal, funding and tender portal, this will cover also other calls on the in the Europe, not Horizon, but also other smaller calls could be found, for example, in this Up to Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
About support the young people to prepare some proposal, is that they own private initiative and business, and they can do only after the working time, or they're supposed to prepare their daily working hours, thinking about that, to looking for call and so on. Maybe some of them researcher don't support to spend the day looking for some proposal. Sometimes that is not individual, but more private initiative to
Well, I think they have to be motivated. As I said before, motivation is moves mountains. I mean, if you are not motivated, you don't do anything. And motivation comes from contact with other people. That's why getting in contact with colleagues that already have tried to present or have been successful, networking, talking with people. So this I suppose is, you know, what make you feel like wanting to know more. As private initiative, of course, is important, but my advice, especially if you are at the beginning, is to go and talk with specialists, with the project office, and say, well, I have an idea, I'm not sure, and they're open, they're there just for you. I mean, they're there to support you, whatever you have in your head. They might say, no, look, forget about that, it's not mature enough. Or yeah, of course, we sit down and we look for something available, or I don't know, contact someone else and form a partnership, whatever. So they are the expert. As institution, you mean if we have some incentives? This is at institution level, well, I trust all the researchers stimulate their students to apply for funding. No, see, of course. So is up to every PI. So especially people that have grants, that already won grants, they stimulate and they incentive and they push, more than incentive, they push their students to apply for grants. Because it's the only, as I said, it's the only way that you can become independent, you can really be, you can have a career, because otherwise, really, it's like, you know, you go from one contract to another, to another, to another. It's better if you change job and do, you know, go to the industry. And so,
in Europe, but here in Serbia, there is some program of institutional state financing the researcher.
Mhm.
So some you have just need to cover some minimal requirements, and you will not financing the next period without project. You can be part of some project and so on, but obligated to
Well,
pay to bring this.
yeah. In Europe, maybe Jelena can help me, but in Europe, I think we do have some reward system. So if you have, I don't know, grants in your career, you can apply for other, I don't know, ERC or so you or ICREA. So you must have some a curriculum where you have grants already won to be able to apply for better position or to have like. Yeah, yeah. She will talk about later, so she will be.
People have those minimum requirements, and the competitive is not something that is we are enforcing, and I think it's really bad in the long run. Okay, you can say you don't have to do that.
I have to use the microphone because.
Yeah.
So if you just don't have to do anything, then you will be on the problem. Okay, you have to do a minimum, but for me, in the long run, you will. Oops, because on a broader level, you are stopping
Sure.
upfront, and you're wasting your time and potential if you are not applying.
Exactly.
Have your motivation on your own, even if you don't have to, you have some sort of secure job, but the minimum.
I think it was more like a comment. Do you want? I don't think she was waiting for a reply. No.
Okay. Mine is also a bit more a comment than a question, actually. But I think it's kind of the same, or it's connected with the fact that, for me personal, and I think for a lot of other PhD students in ICRA, I heard of that we didn't really see a clear career path. Or like a lot of people start with a PhD and they, because it's like they're interested in this research, but they don't see like a whole path forward to where they want to reach. I mean, you can become a research professor or like this could be an ambitious goal, which is nice, and that's one of them. But I think there's many other different paths that you can take, and I think for a lot of PhD students, it's not clear. So once they don't have like a clear path set, they also don't know how to get there, and so they have no idea what to apply.
That's why they go around in circle. They don't know what to do because they don't have clear what are the possibility open either to go to the industry if they're not happy within the academia, so they don't have an idea. I know. That's why.
What they did in ICRA or WASTEWATER, it was the first time I ever saw it, is they clearly set out like possible career paths and gave a presentation about what you could do with research, where you could go and start, and like people put them to think about what their career path would be.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah. No. Perfect. Thank you.